Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to ADL Exchange 2021. Hello, my name is Samantha Aviles, an intern at the Ateneo Salt Institute. With me today is Eugene Cao, an instructor at Ateneo Law School, where he teaches law. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Cao.
Hi, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I hope everyone is dry and safe and healthy. Let me begin. Yung napakinggan niyo pong mga kanta, yan po yung pinapatugtog ko sa mga estudyante ko before the start. Okay, so let's begin. The title of my talk is The Mind Follows the Heart. I will explain why later. I'm here upon the instructions of my Ateneo Law School Dean Joy Hafilenia. But I proudly banner two flags. I'm also from the JGSO Marketing and Law Department. I hope to share with all of you this afternoon a thing or two about lovingly handling our students. So I intend to make this a light, casual, and fun exchange and discussion about my own effort and practice in terms of motivating and inspiring students by first and foremost caring for their person and well-being. Okay, so before we proceed, okay. Ayan, some context about me first. I'm a lawyer by profession, but a teacher by passion. I teach in both the Ateneo Law School and the Loyola School's John Gokongwei School of Management, Marketing and Law Department. So special shout out to my Ateneo Law School colleagues, headed by Dean Joey Filenia, Associate Dean Maita Chan Gonzaga, and Associate Dean Bani Valiente. And also special shout out to my amazing colleagues at the Marketing and Law Department. I think our chairperson is here now, Chair Oman Tanchinko. Maraming salamat for joining. And previous chair, Doc Eddie Valdez, maraming salamat also for being here, and other colleagues. Just to share with all of you, I had my own cannibal moment in 2018, which brought me home to the Ateneo. So just to flex this artwork that I got from one of my students, mas mukha akong tao dito rather compared to my pictures. So I got this at the end of last semester from one of my students. It's a really nice artwork, and Dr. Eddie even told me to use this as an avatar. And I might just do that. So this is one way that the students thank me after a wonderful semester. We've gone through the 3 C's of online learning, right? We've heard it from Father Johnny Go and from Galvin of the Ateneo Salt. The 3 C's of online learning, there's content, there's coach, and there's community. The focus of my talk this afternoon will just be on the coach element, okay? And that's why I came up with my 3 C's of coaching, and just a bit of a background there, and just so that we understand better the context of our students. Students are looking for, what are the students looking for? They want to learn. They still want to learn. They very much want to do the academic rigor and want to learn. Second, they are looking for mentors. They're looking for mentors. And third, they always want to have a cause and a meaning to fight for, being it against plastic straws or speaking out for better employment conditions or good governance. They are activists and advocates that way. So I came up with my own 3 C's. I hope Father Johnny and Galvin would be proud of my ADL training. Okay, I came up with my own 3 C's of coaching and caring. These are communication, conscientiousness, and compassion. Okay, so when I talk about communication, you have to reach out and listen to the students. You have to be available to them. You have to share and tell your stories to them, especially your experiences as a professional. They really love that. And more importantly, as part of that communication, you have to be able to build the connection. You have to build the connection. It can't be just one-off. And when I talk about conscientiousness, it's about doing good and doing right by the students. It means faithfully executing our teaching duties and responsibilities. So that means being able to faithfully deliver the content that we have promised them on the subject matter that we've been assigned to handle. And also compassion, that's the 3rd C, seeing the world from their eyes and accordingly motivate and inspire them and care for them. At this juncture, it's very important to highlight that you have to love your students enough for you to be passionate about what you're doing. Everything contributes to their overall formation. So I don't mind sharing with all of you. I also teach in another law school, but I practice the same coaching philosophy to all my students, regardless of the school. And in fact, this is the same coaching philosophy that I've been employing for both college and law students. And I'm very proud to share that it has produced good results. It has produced good results. So, ayan. Dahil sa online learning, natututo tayo ngayon magkaroon ng mga creative visual presentations. So, natutuwa ako nitong Venn diagram. So, as you can see, the three C's overlap each other, showing their logical relation with one another. But at the heart of it all, it's love and passion. It's love and passion. It's our love and passion for teaching, not just for our teaching, but also for our students. So also worth stressing, it cannot just be one component. It cannot just be one communication without conscientiousness or without compassion. It cannot just be conscientiousness without communication or without compassion. To be legalese about it, they all have to be present and they must concur. And not only that, not only must they concur, they must always be constant and it must be consistent. It can, again, as I've mentioned earlier, it cannot be one-off. Your love and passion is at the heart of it all, and we always have to remember that it's not about us. It's not about us. It's about the students. Okay, so let's now go to communication. These are my 5 M's of practice. So these are the 5 M's that I practice during my class. Music, I play DJ. That's my pre-class protocol. I play music for my students depending on the mood, depending on the conditions of the day. So it really depends on the setting. I would play them different types of artists, music, Coldplay, YouTube, Ben and Ben, even Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive, Fleetwood and Mac, Justin Bieber, The Weeknd, John Mayer, John Legend, Bruno Mars. I have a very wide range of playlists, and I actually shared the playlist with them, and they actually enjoyed it. Second, M, messages. It's in the form of the hello greetings, the good luck messages that we send them, checking in on them. And I even sent them a farewell message, and I shared with them the story about the legend of the Northern Lights, which I will briefly explain later. Third would be meetings. These should be consultations, but I needed an M so that I can call it 5 M's of practice. Okay, so I just called it meetings, but this is in essence consultations. So as you now all know, we're doing consultations either by email or Canvas message or by Zoom. Okay, we would even conduct Zoom consultations with them. And students would often consult me not only about their academic concerns, but also sometimes personal concerns. I just make sure that there's a third party observer to join us whenever that happens. So, but yes, these are the meeting consultations happening. And fourth, pretty much what Ines from the previous sharing earlier about the Kumustahan sessions, we actually do that as well in the Ateneo Law School. It's something that I think I should do as well for the Loyola schools, for my college students. The fourth M would be mental health break. In the Ateneo Law School, we have what is called the advisors program. We have an advisors hour. We have an advisory class composed of one male faculty and one female faculty. And before the midterms and before the finals, we would schedule a session with them just to do kumustahan. What are you grateful for? What's your favorite K-pop music now? What's your favorite rom-com? What's your favorite music? Very light. It's just a casual exchange of the different things about our lives, about our persons. And the fifth M would be making time, especially for the students when they need it. It's very important that we really find and make time for our students now. That's one way also of doing that communication. So these are the things that work. These are the things that work for me, and these are the greatest hits. As I've earlier mentioned, the music that I play, I created a playlist for my classes. This is the songs that you heard earlier are the songs that I play for my class. So and not only that, plug ko na rin, I have this love anthology playlist. It's composed of the 1,846 of the greatest love songs known to man, and they very much enjoyed it. And you know, they're actually very surprised. They're very surprised to hear that professors like us, teachers like us, we actually get to enjoy music. We love music, and it shows our human side to them, and that's very helpful with them. That's very helpful with them. On the messages part, I would send them messages. I would send them messages greeting them, hello, how are you at the start of the semester. And more importantly, if you all recall that period during the pandemic when the cases of COVID were rising and there were typhoons left and right, and the spirit was down. So I had to send them an email to just keep on plodding on. I sent this plodding on message not only to my law students, but also to my college students. And it really worked. It helped. because the morale at that time was really low. And when I sent this message, I got very good feedback. It really encouraged them to continue forward, to keep on fighting. Additionally, I would also send them messages, okay, for whenever they would have their midterm exam and their final exam. It's a simple message. Good luck. You got this. One big fight. And during their final exam, I even conspired with my children. I have two. I have a 9-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. So I conspired with them. I asked them to record a message.
Hello, Admin Law 2B. Good luck on your final exam. You got this. One big fight.
So yes, I involved my kids to deliver that message. So they loved it, and I think it really helped in terms of performing well in their exams. So they found it really cute. They found it really cute. And lastly, I also gave them a farewell message. The farewell message that I sent to them, I shared with them the legend of the Northern Lights. So special shout out and mention to Xavier School, the faculty of Xavier School, because I got this from the grade school teacher of my son. While I was eavesdropping one time, the grade school teacher of my son at Xavier School shared this story. And this is the same story that I shared with all my students at the end of every semester. So I would tell them that regardless of the grades that they would get, regardless of what happened, etc., they should all remember my message to them is that one tomorrow at a time. Tomorrow is you. Tomorrow is still you. Tomorrow will always be you. And it resonates with them because it gives them something to look forward to for that every tomorrow. And they are reminded that they are part of that future that we are all yearning for. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Okay, the second C, conscientiousness, and here are my practices. And when I talk about conscientiousness, this is now the faithful delivery, the faithful execution of our teaching duties and responsibilities. So, because it cannot just be all hard. It cannot just be all hard. By the way, I've run out of letters here, so I haven't thought of the appropriate abbreviation here. So this is just a list now of my practices. So as I've said, it cannot just be all hard. At the end of the day, we still have to teach and impart knowledge. We have to train them to become better professionals. In the context of the law school, we are training them to become lawyers. In the context of college students, we are training them to be better managers, better executives, in addition to being better people. So that means delivering on our promise on the syllabus, a commitment on the syllabus, Canvas, handouts. I do recorded lectures. I also share with them presentation and learning decks and all the cases. The cases that I assign, I readily make them available. So in other words, I didn't shortchange the substance. I delivered on what should be learned. Also, I replied to each and every email. Every question that they would have, I would reply to it. I would never fail not to reply. And when I do answer a question, if it's relevant to the whole class, I would then do a mass email for that particular class and share that particular question so that everyone is on the same page. Everyone is on board when it comes to the Q&A. And fourth would be returning the exams on time. And this is a simple thing. This is a very important thing for the students, especially in this online learning. They want to receive timely feedback, and we can only do that if we are able to return the assessments on time, the exams on time. And when we do give that feedback, actually, that's part of our conscientious responsibility, our faithful execution of our duties, because they get to perform better the next time around. And I've seen that from the time that I gave them feedback during their midterms, they did very well in their finals. Also, as part of that conscientious duty, I was still able to organize a webinar. I invited a resource person to speak before my classes, and that's again, it's a testament to the things that we should still be doing and continue doing. Again, not shortchanging anything, whatever will contribute to their learning, let's. Six would be taking it on the chin. We have to learn how to take things constructively. That's why the assessments, the feedback that we're getting also from the students, they're very helpful in terms of the refinements and improvements that we should be making. Seventh would be imposing discipline. It's very important to still impose discipline in class. And we have to be firm and professional still, in as much as we are exercising the other C's. Okay. So just to illustrate and just to depict for everyone that effort that I put in as part of that conscientious practice that I do. The one thing that I miss about the on-site is doing whiteboard work, board work. I really miss it. I would often do a mind map on the whiteboard. So since we cannot do it now, I tried it with the digital whiteboard. Okay, so I had to do two devices, and this is the result. Pardon my handwriting. And while I was doing the mind map, the whiteboard work, I would narrate to them. I would discuss with them the things that they need to follow, so they are able to come up with their own mind map based on the discussion. So this is an illustration of that conscientious effort that I practiced during class in order to deliver the learning materials for them, the subject matter for them. Okay, compassion. These are my house. Again, I've also run out of letters. I have to figure that out. I got this. These are the stock photos from PowerPoint, and very interesting. Uh, when we talk about compassion, we cannot avoid but talk about empathy also. Not only is it that we tell the students that we're sorry, that they're in pain, that they're having difficulty right now, we have to feel their pain. And in this diagram by Michael Sohata, which I found on the net, um, it's being able to see the world from their eyes. This is what I partially disagree with Michael Sohata on this one. It's seeing their world. For me, no, it's really seeing the world from their lens, from their eyes. And they really appreciate if they are also seen and appreciated as human beings. And I got that very good feedback from my law students, because it's actually the first time, or very rare, that they get to encounter a professor or a teacher that actually sees them as human beings. And for me, wow, that's a testament of the improvements that we should be making when it comes to handling our students. Because first and foremost, they are human beings. If we want to make them better people, better persons one day, we have to start treating them as human beings, and we have to share those life lessons and life experiences to them and with them. So we have to understand their feelings. So generally, these are the house of my compassion. I make sure, as per the ADL training, I make sure that I meet them where they are. I constantly encourage them, and I believe in them. Through those messages that I've shared, that's why the overlap is very real. The overlap is very present, because your exercise of compassion will be done through your communication, through the messages that you'll be sending them. And in each and every message, I am always encouraging, you can do this. You have to keep on fighting. Also avoiding any toxic environment. I create the chill vibe whenever we have classes. It's harder enough as it is. I don't intend to make it any more difficult for our students. Also, I provide counsel and advice. Some of the students have reached out to me for personal problems. Some even wrote an email to me. He saw one tweet of mine that I shared over Twitter, that checking exams is like is very hard for an ADHD person like me. So someone emailed me, "Sir, I heard you have ADHD." And then asked me what I did to deal with it. And I shared my thoughts. And one would even email me telling them how they're having a difficult time and they would like to sit down with me. This is a law student, and I made time. I made time for them. So part and parcel of our function really is not just teaching them, but also sharing with them any wisdom, any experience that we can counsel, that we can provide for them. Specifically, the exercise of compassion came in the blended sessions. As you all know, in the law school, it's very Socratic. It's you grill the students, it's probing, Q&A. But in the law school, because of the online setting, I really had difficulty practicing pure Socratic. So I did a blended session. I would do Socratic, and then I would still do lecture discussions at the same time. Okay. Because it was really very hard. I honestly do not know if it's really working with the students that Socratic type. So that's why I did it with a blended session. And for the Loyola schools, so for the undergraduate students, I do whatever works for them, and they are varied in their ways. Some would learn better through messages. Some would learn better through Canvas discussions. Some would learn better through individual consultations or group consultations. Some would learn better through synchronous sessions. So I adjusted myself. Whatever works for them, I'm there. Whatever platform, I'm there for them. I help them. Also, I did a reasonable exam coverage. I did not do comprehensive. I would like to develop more focus and more quality, more than the quantity. And like everyone here, I'm sure you've all experienced adjusting deadlines, especially late submissions. So long as they comply, then we accommodate. And giving them all materials possible. I'll give a very good, complete example for this. This is in the context of the law school. as you know, law professors would often assign cases, right? I counted mine. I didn't know that I assigned 500 cases total for my admin law subject. And instead of just giving the syllabus to the students with the case list, I already shared with them the Google Drive of all the cases. Since I have them anyway, no sense keeping it to myself. So it didn't make sense for me to just keep it to myself and not sharing it with them and asking them to still download it one by one. So I made it available for all of them already, because again, I'm very mindful that it's hard already as it is. So I didn't want to make it more difficult for them. That's why I shared. Every material and resource that I have, I shared it with them. Same goes for my college students. I share with them the Canvas content. I share with them extra review materials. I share with them handouts, my presentation materials, recorded lectures, and even Q&A sessions to amplify the learning. But this is what I want to highlight, however. In our exercise of compassion, for me, and perhaps some of you may disagree, it's not equivalent to a free pass. I don't think it's an exercise of compassion to pass someone just because we need to pass them because we empathize with them. I think it's very important to remember that we still have to uphold our university standards, our institutional standards. So for me, compassion is not equivalent to that free pass. Okay. Okay, so I have the title of my talk, the mind follows the heart, right? So these are the heart results. I'm very happy to share. We have very grateful students. So as part of their token of appreciation at the end of last semester, they created a playlist for me. They created a collaborative playlist for me with each student contributing one song that reminded me of them. Or that reminded them about the class. Okay. And one insight that I got is the title of the playlist itself. It's a witty play with words with my name, Ikaw. And my name is Eugene Cao, so it's Ikaw. And they called it Ikaw at Kami. One insight that I got from this is that, wow, I think I did something right, because no longer do they see it as just me against the professor. They see it as me being in their corner. They see it as me being with them, as exemplified by that Ikaw at Kami. And they also presented me with Padlet messages. I would very much love to have shared it, but some of the content there is really confidential to the class. So yeah, but they came up with a Padlet with all the thank you messages. Last year, at the onset of the pandemic, I also got an ABP from my students containing all their messages and with the music of For Good from Wicked. So these are some of the messages that I got from my students. Two things that really stood out. One is a song from Hon, if you're familiar with Hon. It's called Day One. The students told me that I will always be there day one. As the song, the lyrics go, you'll always be my day one. Day zero was when I was no one. And it really struck me because I really connected with them. And it really showed that connection with them if they consider me to be their day one. And second comment that really struck with me and really touched me is that I would often share with all my students, law school, undergraduate. I made sure that they know about Father Joaquin Bernas. And the values that he has taught each and every single students that he had. And I talked to them about Father Bernas. I would narrate to them stories about Father Bernas. And it was really touching that some of my students told me that they now consider me as their Father B, as what we call Father Bernas. So it was a very humbling moment because sa loob-loob ko, mas maganda naman akong lalaki kaysa kay Father Bernas. Just kidding. Sorry, Father. Sumalangit nga ako kaluluwa niya. But I'm very proud of the fact that they are able to associate me also with the same teachings that Father B taught us. Father B was very good with his students. I'm sure he's smiling right now from heaven, and he's holding that cup of whiskey, that glass of whiskey. So, yeah. Okay. Now, here are the mind results, because again, as I've said, the mind follows the heart, right? So here are the mind results, and we have 3 E's to consider. First, performance. I'm very proud to share the average of the classes, the grades, 85%. I honestly do not know the norm, but this is the average of my classes in the law school. I just I just computed the average of all the final grades, and it got it was consistent actually for all the three classes that I handled. It's 85%. That's the average. For the Loyola schools, the average is a B plus. So I think it's working. They're able to learn something, and they're able to manifest that through the assessments and through the grading. Second would be presence. I'm very proud to share that I got 95 to 97%, save for those occasional Wi-Fi problems, connectivity problems, but I was able to generate 95 to 97% attendance. Even in those sessions when they know that it's recorded, that they don't even have to attend, and even in those sessions where we're not conducting visitations, I'm just doing a lecture, they would still show up. They would still show up. And that's how engaged that I've made them. And for the Loyola schools, it's a bit down because it's a bit harder for undergraduate students. It's around 75 to 80%. Say for quarter four, it really dropped to 50% because I think it's the online fatigue that our students experienced towards the end of the quarter last semester. And the third would be perspective. I wanted to call this attitude, but I needed a third piece, so I called it perspective instead. And that perspective is they're very excited to attend every class. They're very excited to attend every class. And one comment that I got from the student is that yours is the only class I look forward to and attend synchronously. And they don't, she doesn't even attend the other classes synchronously. But when it comes to my class, she makes it a point to attend. Okay, so these are just some of the demonstrations of that performance. So, yeah. Okay. Now, I can't say that everything was perfect. There's still a lot of room for improvement. So it wasn't all perfect. Practice makes progress. I said the mind follows the heart, right? But unfortunately, there were still students who failed the subject. So I think I need to go back to the drawing board on that one because my target is that 100% dapat walang bagsak. But again, I'm very mindful that again, compassion is not equivalent to a free pass. So I'm very mindful that we still have to uphold our institutional, our university standards. So at the Ateneo Law School, I painfully had to fail 2 students. And in the Loyola schools, I had to painfully fail also 1 student. I even had to consult the chair on this one. But in hindsight, I think I should be going back to how to make sure that this doesn't happen again. But we can only do so much, right? There were also times when I lost my temper. One instance, I was conducting a discussion. I was facilitating a discussion. I was doing a lecture. And then one of the students would type in. They love it. They would turn their videos on and they would just type their questions, which is okay, no problem. They can just type in their questions, any concern or any point that they would like to raise. But when I start engaging the students, he would not even turn his audio on. So it's like I was just talking to a chat. So I lost my temper a bit and I had to tell the students, sorry, pasensya na po, pero hindi po ako artificial intelligence. You know, I interact and engage better when someone talks to me. So good thing the student politely turned on his audio and started the discussion. But I think it's normal. We're humans after all. There will be times that we will lose our temper. So also at the ALS, they still wanted quizzes. 5% of them, as much as I did a blended learning, a good 5% of them still wanted rigor. They wanted quizzes and daily recitation so that they can be pushed to meeting with the weekly requirements. At the Loyola School, some students ghosted me. I never heard from them. But they performed the assessment test. So okay, so long as they comply. But some of them I've never seen or heard. But that's okay, so long as they learned and so long as they participated and complied. And there's this other thing about grade inflation. My attention was called on this one because of the online situation. We had to be very accommodating, and that was my defense. And additional defense of that, and I was able to my defense, I was able to effectively deliver the learning material. So that's probably why half of them got A's. But nonetheless, it's back to the drawing board now that we're doing a semestral approach. It's something that I think should be revisited. That's why, if you remember, I think 2 weeks back, I would ask about grade inflation because I was very much curious what the experience is of other teachers, other professors. And the last difficulty, challenge is the problem with my 3Cs is that it's very hard to switch off. It's always I'm always switched on all the time, especially in trying to meet where the students are. They have very different time periods as well. Some would function early in the morning, some would function in the afternoon, some would function midnight. So I'm basically up 20 hours just to trying to meet them where they are. And I think that's not healthy anymore for us educators. And I think that's something that I would have to scale down. Okay, so some reflection points for us to remember. I got this from Twitter. I had to fix it a bit to make it gender neutral. Mapapagalitan ako ni Ma'am Ampi Santa Maria if I don't share gender sensitivity. So I edited it a bit to make sure that it's bro and sis. So these are the reflection points that we can ask ourselves. These are thoughts that many of us can probably think about. When was the last time you lifted kindness? When was the last time you practiced empathy? When was the last time you reached out to your students? When was the last time you engaged them, motivated them, inspired them? Any extraordinary act of kindness that you remember? And lastly, and this is a very important point, how can we do better as educators? How can we do better as educators? So I think that's a very important thing. We have to constantly strive to be better, because the moment that we think we don't have to be better anymore, that for me personally, that's the moment then I would stop teaching. Because I think year in, year out, it's always a constant effort to better ourselves. Okay, now last, as I've said, mind follows the heart, and at the center of this enterprise, of this endeavor, the most critical asset and the most important asset actually is our heart. Is our heart. Your heart is the most important and critical asset in this enterprise that is the Lord's work. Just last Monday, I was with fellow faculty members from the Ateneo. We have this group called Breathing Spacers. This is very helpful. We were talking about where do we find God in our teaching? Where do we find God in our teaching? And what brought us to teaching? And if you think about it, it's all about God's word. And the coaching that we are sharing with our students now, it's because of God's heart. So let me quote: I find strength from this prayer, Pilgrim's Theme, by Father Mandaling Francisco and by Father Johnny Go. Whenever we have to look back to where we are, where we were before, and we find ourselves where we are now in our teaching responsibilities, in our teaching vocation, we remember that God's heart is, you are the heart, the very heart of the greater scheme of things. So God's heart is in that greater scheme of things. And whenever we fail and whenever we fall short, we always have to find God again, and to always remember that God is there to provide that space for us. And that's why I find strength in this song also, Your Heart Today by Father Mandaling Francisco. And when there are hearts that cannot be moved, Lord, give us hope, that I may be your heart today. So it's really referring to the presence of God, to be able to allow God to do the rest of his work through us. So in closing, I'll quote from another, I'll speak about another Jesuit, very dear to me, Father Joaquin Bernas. Once upon a time, he talked about vocation. And Father B said that we are called by God to fulfill our roles and do something for God's greater glory. And that is our role now as educators at this time, in this place, for years and generations to come. That's it.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you.
Cao. Unfortunately, we do not have any more time for any questions. But if you do have some thoughts or questions you want to say, you can always visit gbsealed.online/share. You can check it out in the chat box below. Once again, thank you very much. And if you have any other sessions or you're coming to the next session, please check your emails na lang.
Maraming
Thank you
salamat
so
po.
much.
Pasensya na po ang daldal ko. Wala nang pagkakataon may Q&A. But you can email me, ikaw@ateneo.edu, if you have questions. I'm very happy to share some of my practices with all of you. Maraming salamat po for joining us. Thank you. Keep safe.